This one's called That Old Mason Jar. When I was just a little boy, Grandpa took me down over to the general store on the outskirts of town. He showed me all the wonders that could thrill a boy of 5, all the hardware, whatsits, and gadgets. He'd make each one come alive. He'd tell me a little story about each and every one, then he'd set me upon that flour barrel when all his tales was done. He'd gather in the back of the store with those older gentlemen, and they had themselves a table set, and they'd play upon it then. He'd always give me a big smile, and then he'd find that special shelf, and he'd hand me that old mason jar, all that candy for myself. As I grew up, I remembered those days from long ago, and at 14, I got introduced to my first motion picture show. It was from another mason jar. It was clear and smelled of corn, but we all had ourselves a drink. Us boys took it by the horn. And it didn't take but just a few till I was seeing things, and my stomach gave me such a heave, I tossed up my shoestrings. Got so sick my head was reeling. They said, "Get you some hair of the dog." I couldn't talk, but I swallowed some more. My tongue swelled up like a log. When I had that jar tilted, I saw an angel's face in the bottom. It was Becky from over at the school. Man, she attracted me some. But now I was so stinking I couldn't hardly walk. She just grabbed me by the shoulder and gave me a little talk. Said I ought to be ashamed, tasting the devil's corn squeezins. But she was dragging me toward her farm. My chest gave me the wheezings. But she took good care of me, and she didn't tell my pa. I came to find I liked her some, prettiest thing I ever saw. We married in my mama's church. She was dressed all in white. But we had to live with her folks. She said it'd be all right, 'cause we was all just poor sodbusters. I helped out on the farm, and I took odd jobs around my Becky helped. She saw no harm. One night as I nursed my blisters and daydreamed a tad out loud, Becky told me to ask her folks for the money. I said I was too proud. So we dreamed about having our own farm and leaving her daddy's place. The money was slow in coming, or it got spent at a feverish pace. Becky was doing her share. Sometimes she'd come to bed after I did. We were both working so hard, but Becky had a secret hid. One night as we lay in bed talking, she slipped me something in the dark. It was a mason jar full of folding money. I couldn't make no remark. But we got that little farm of our own, and then she gave me a little surprise when she birthed a darling little girl that had her same green eyes. We just loved being a family. Becky took good care of us. That little green-eyed beauty, why, she hardly ever kicked up a fuss. But my life got tied together when I caught that little stink with a chair up to the cupboard, the one above the sink. She was teetering on the edge and about to fall right down. When I saw what she was after, I gave her a little frown. Inside that same old mason jar was some brand new oatmeal cookies. And we shared us one as I remembered the last time I saw one of these. And I had to sit to think it over, how I had come so far, that I'd shed a tear just remembering that old mason jar. Thank you.